Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? So as you see today, I guess I came back to normality again, wherever it is normality. So yesterday, I hope you enjoyed yesterday. Um, it was really improvised. Yesterday we just talked 5 minutes before in order to how to start with it, but so that was the main idea. But then it was all improvised. We were just feeling what was happening, and I was just describing what was happening. So I hope you got it and you enjoy it. So I want to take the idea back for something that I wrote in the post yesterday, which was regarding bipolarity, and is that we have to remember that we are all bipolar and a bit schizophrenic by nature. We all have that thing inside of us, and is natural perception of a human being that allows us to adapt to different people, to different environments. So it's kind of useful for us to be open and adaptable to any environment. Also, to say that that our cultures, our religions, our morality, ethics makes us whole by logics. All this inner power of personality, of expansion of this personality, because we have to adapt and to be accepted. So that's why usually in our daily life we kind of control that by the mind, so they don't express outside. When we have to remember too that all the emotions that we usually hold back by logics are a product of hormones, and hormones are created in the glands. And if one of the glands doesn't work correctly, so we don't know how to handle, how to manage our emotions. So that's why the natural concept of bipolarity and schizophrenia that we all have gets a little bit weird, and we don't know how to handle them. It starts to create what we call a disease. So this is why when we listen about bipolarity or schizophrenia, we usually relate that with a disease. So whenever we have a problem in our hormones, in our glands, we cannot control what we have within. So that's why it becomes like kind of the disease, because the hormone starts to make the neurons crazy. They don't know how to handle the data, the information. So that's why we start to produce these kind of conflicts within. This is how it becomes a disease. This is how we don't know how to handle. But actually, the real conflict here is not bipolarity or schizophrenia. The real conflict here is not knowing how to handle it. When we speak about this disease, I would invite you to not to think about it as a disease, because basically schizophrenia, autism, bipolarity, we are kind of the things, the natural things that we have inside our mind that open the mind of a humanity. So throughout the history of humanity, these kind of crazy people were the ones that changed the point of view, the ideas of what we were doing. It helps us to evolve. It shows us different things that the rest couldn't see. So that's why it's not something negative. It's not something bad. What really happened is that some people cannot handle or control the emotions that they have within when they start to experiencing that. Why? Because maybe they had some trauma in their families, maybe they have some weird relationships that awaked many bad perceptions of the world, but also through what they are eating, what they inherit by genetics. All these kind of disorders that we can have throughout our lives makes us be and makes us unable to handle what we have within. So don't think about it as a disease. Think about it as a disorder, okay, of the inner power. Another thing to remember, well, connected to this, is that we should not treat these kind of diseases, or sorry, this is not this kind of disorders as an illness that you have to medicate, because usually we start to make this judgment that if someone has schizophrenia or someone has ADD or something like that, immediately we start to think that we have to control them, to send them to a hospital or something like this. But actually, the first stages of these disorders are the moments when we don't need medication. We need support. We need people holding our emotions, helping us to deal with the emotions, trying to know how to handle them through arts or many other things. So it's important to see that is a process in our life. It's not something that defines a person, okay? It's just a process that someone is going through, okay? It's important to know that if a person is not accompanied, is not helped when has this kind of problems or diseases, this kind of disorders, and you treat them like a disease, so the person will start to think, the body will start to think that is sick, so it will keep that disease constantly once and again. Important to know that if you help the person that has a mental disorder, it can become a gift, because throughout history, all these great people that has been artists or changed history or gave us as a humanity very important things, they had this kind of weird way of thinking and opening the mind. So, and somehow they knew how to handle it. So when we help or give the space for these people to know how to handle their way of thinking, their way of having or understanding the world, they can become genius. They can become really gifted people. Important to know about this. Don't qualify or classify the mental illness like if they are all the same. Like, for example, someone has schizophrenia and schizophrenia is all like that. It's not like this. Everyone is unique. So each one of the persons has a different way of acknowledging their own process. So we have to remember that there are many stages in each one of the of these disorders. Like, there are schizophrenic people that can live with schizophrenia their whole life, and you won't even notice that, and they will be maybe using that for arts and creativity, and they can live with that properly, no problem. And there are some other stages, like 4 or 5, that they can hurt someone, or they can hurt themselves. so having delusions and so on and so on. So we have to remember that we cannot say they are all the same. Okay, each person is unique, and we have to be sensitive when there are people like this, that they need their space, not to touch them, not to invade them, like pushing them to feel better or pushing them to do what others are doing. We have to respect their time, their process, their space is very important in order for them to handle their own emotions. Because remember that besides that is a mental issue, mainly is related to the emotional issues. Okay. So I would recommend you, of course, to look for information about this kind of disorders, to know specifically much more about each one of these topics, because for sure there are many. But also recognize that we should not treat this as a disease, as an illness. Okay, we should treat this as a different point of view, as a person that is trying to know a different way of how they can see the world. So we have to respect this process from which we can take some benefit from it, maybe to take some goals, to find a way for it to be useful for their lives. Because if we treat them like if they are sick, ill, we just take them away from maybe their opportunities to share, to do their part in the society. They help us to see another perspective. So just as an own experience, I would like to say I have been through many processes of autism when I was a child. Autism, schizophrenia, bipolarity. I have been through that, and I can tell how it is to feel being that and treated like that. And I can, for example, even today, I can relate a lot with autistic people. When I had the opportunity to be in the same place with autistic people, I feel like at home, like quiet and in the center. Eventually, what has happened to me was like going through all this process of trying to understand if I was crazy, if I was imagining everything, and to be really in that position. Okay. And thanks to my mom, through my family, friends, and the people that were around me, and of course also the beings from other dimensions that helped me a lot in this, I was able to be present here now, and to be like kind of normal, let's say, like living a normal life like society says, because I was able to handle my emotions, to not to be grabbed by the inner world to do with me whatever it wanted, but for me to be the ruler of my own existence. So I can say that I have lived periods of my life that I felt that I was schizophrenic, and but it was due to the center, the center of my emotions, that I was able to explain this and to get out from that stage. So this is why, for me, it's not something that we can call a disease, an illness that you have to take care of, or you have to heal. For me, it's much more like a process that we all go through, and some of us get away from it, we transcend that process, and some others cannot, and they just go through that even worse. It's a process. So now we are speaking about this story, and I want to share something that happened to me, a personal story. That is a long story, but I will try to make it short. I was studying in Rio Cuarto, which is a city in Argentina. I was studying pedagogy for school, for teaching. While I was there, here comes one day that one of my guides come during a class, and they said to me, "You have to leave the university because we have only 5 months until your mission starts." And I was like, I'm not leaving the university because I have to finish and have a degree title for education. And they said, no, you shouldn't. You just had to have this experience, but now you have to go somewhere else. And I was arguing with them, saying, no, I'm not leaving, because in this world, if I don't have a paper that says you are allowed to teach, nobody will ask me to teach anything. I won't be able to work in schools. And so I was fighting with them about that. And they said, we only have this 5 months. And of course they were right, because 5 months after everything happened for me to be doing the first Congress of Education, and someone filmed me and uploaded it in YouTube. So I am here because of that, basically. So yeah. So because I denied myself, so suddenly all the things came up to me, and I started to channel in sociology class. So I was channeling, and suddenly I just fell down on the floor and started to convulsion and to write and speak about pyramids and stuff. So of course that someone came and they took me to the mental hospital of Rio Cuarto. So I went there. So the psychologist that was bringing me to the mental hospital had a necklace with Anubis, which is the god of death. So I was thinking like, okay, this is a moment of death for me, of course. So the funny thing that happened in that moment was that when they opened the door of the psychiatrist, the mental health, the first person that came was a schizophrenic, was an internal there in the hospital, and he said like, you have been born. So it was not because he knew me from videos. He remembered me from other dimension. So actually we remember each other, and he was remembering me. So the doctors there had no clue what was happening, because we were talking from other levels and dimensions, and we were talking about the same. So yeah, I was there just one day, only one day, but it was enough to understand how bad the mental health system treats the people that are going through a very deep inner process. The weird thing that happens is that once you get inside, you put a step inside of this institution, you stop being an individual, you stop being a person, you're not treated like a human anymore, and you're treated like a mental sick. Me quitaron la comunicación con el mundo exterior, no me dejaron avisarle a mi mamá dónde estaba, por ejemplo. They took me the phone, the communication with the outside. They didn't allow me to communicate with my mom to tell them to tell her where I was. So I'm not saying with this that all mental institutions are like this. For sure, there are many people that are really lovely with and caring with the people that the internals. They are very good people treating them. But what I'm saying is about the entire system, which instead of treating you as a person in a process, treats you as a person with a disease. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of people in this kind of institutions that are just people in a process of awakening, that they just needed someone to help them to go through this process. And they are not, they are still there. So I just wanted to share this today because perhaps eventually some people would say that what happened yesterday was a lack of respect for all these people that are living these kind of situations. But as you see, we did that because I lived that situation. I was there, and I know how it is to be in that situation. So that's why instead of treating it like a disease, like something heavy, I just wanted to honor the beauty of being crazy, the gift that sometimes it is. And regarding this concept, today we have appearance. Appearance about how do I look, what should I do to be accepted, how it is supposed to be, or how I think that things are supposed to be. Appearance, which is kind of the greatest bad things from our time. So we can understand appearance of something very schematic in our evolution in two different ways. One of the ways is to be accepted by the group, to be similar to the others, and on the other hand, to survive in between the others, in between other beings. So appearance was really good for us to build families, for us to build societies, cultures, many things, because it was useful for us to be accepted by the others. So that's why we started to dress like the others. We started to talk like the others. We started to use the same colors. We started to kind of be similar to one another so we could be accepted by others. So on the other hand, appearance is helpful for survival, because to be similar to a leaf, to a tree, helps me for the predators not to find me. Also, if I try to dress up like my enemies, I can survive and they won't kill me. So basically, the side of survival is the one that helps me to find food, but also not to become food. So as you see, sometimes emotionally, some people dress up with a specific fashion so they could survive, because perhaps the fashion makes them stronger when in reality they are very weak. inside, within. So the appearance of something can help us to feel stronger in moments that maybe we are very weak. So through thousands of years, we humans have been evolving through appearances. We have survived through appearances. And this is why in our daily life today, we still judge the world through appearances. We understand the reality by how the things look like. So we cannot judge the world of appearances because it's something useful for survival, to understand the environment and so on. It's good. So the problem is when we start to look within, when we start to figure out our inner world. Because in that moment, we start to see the reality in a very different way. So appearances just can't help us to see the truth within. So we have to start to think about two different point of views of appearances. The outer point of views that are judging what we are according to appearances, and the inner point of view that takes us to judge the outside according to our own point of view. So from the inner point of view, we used to judge others. We used to tell how things should be. Like, for example, I can be here judging religion. Like, religious people is all wrong because they are lost and they are controlled and all these kind of things, and religion is something terrible for us and blah blah. So maybe I want for them to know that what they are doing is wrong and so on. But then I go to meditate, and for the people that follows a religion, we are doing it wrong. We are not doing it right. Because the same concept that we have from they praying is the same concept that they have from us meditating. So actually, we are all the time judging others, not acknowledging that we also do the same all the time. And from the point of view from the outside, we can see a lot of people, like it happens to me all the time. When people say, you're not a really spiritual person because you're not, you don't have humility, and you live like greater, and to be spiritual is something different. It's much more about being whatever. And it's not. It's just an expectation from the inner world, from how things should appear, should be. Of course, that sometimes we have a pattern of belief inside of how things should be, how they should look like, in order for us to accept them. So if they are not as we perceive them, as we expect for them to be, so we qualify them as wrong, as something bad, just because of our own perception, not because they should be like that. For example, myself here, maybe I can say that to be a Muslim is wrong, or to go to the mosque is wrong, because in my mind I can relate Islam with bad things, maybe because I saw it in the TV, I don't know. So I can put Islam in the same box for everyone? I don't know. No. So we are judging people for our own expectation and beliefs about this. Like, why spirituality is about being poor. This is something from the Roman times. Who told you that to be spiritual is to be poor? Why rich people cannot be spiritual? It's all beliefs. So we are putting beliefs upon another belief once and again, all the time, judging everything through appearances and never the content of it. So this is why we have to recognize that it doesn't matter how do I look. It doesn't matter if I am wearing a pink t-shirt or a blue t-shirt. It doesn't matter if I am wearing a hat. It doesn't matter if I have my hair cut or my hair long. It really doesn't matter if I eat fish or I eat lettuce. It's all appearances. And eventually it will come up all these things that can tell this is good and this is bad, or no, when you eat this is wrong. And no, because I am again imposing something to the other one about what is good and what is wrong. Is oneself the only one that has to know what is wrong and what is good for your own self? So, for example, myself, if you put meat or lettuce and vegetables, I will choose the vegetables because I won't eat a dead animal, but that's my choice. This is my choice to not to do so. But I cannot push the other one to say that is wrong what they are doing, because they don't know yet. They weren't able to make the decision. And here comes appearances. When we try to fit, so the new spiritual people say, I'm vegan. So I'm vegan because the other ones are vegan, so you don't want to be judged. So you eat like the others, and then you go by yourself alone and eat a hamburger with guilt. That's not spirituality. That's like an animal thinking, to be accepted for not to die. So appearances are not a bad thing. Appearance is something natural. It's good. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's something that we as humanity share, and it was a tool for evolution. But what we have to think about is that when we become the inner path of coherence, of understanding ourselves, what we go through is a process of understanding that we don't need to be like others, that I have to be myself, my own self. So I don't need appearance anymore. I have to connect with my own inner world. And I will give another advice for something that I am just watching here in the chat. The thing that I wanted to say is that the thing of the food that I said was just an example. It was not the main topic. So it would be good for us to learn to listen beyond the words, to understand that there is much more than a personal thing from the appearance of the example. So eventually it turned out to be like something about food when it's not. It was just an example. So just as an advice to not to lose energy when it's needed to do the process inside, to understand the concept before trying to make some point of view of topics that are not where we are speaking right now. And the last thing to say today is that appearances comes through skin, because the skin is basically, appearances is basically the shell that we show to the world what we are. So throughout millions of years, appearances were designed mainly to reproduce. So appearances were using sexual energy. As any animal, any one of us, the tone of our skin, the shapes of our bodies, the movements, everything that we do are related to make a pair of someone, to put us in pairs. That is the same origin of the word appear. Appearance is to be in pairs, which means I have to look like something to show my genetics to the other ones so I can match with someone to reproduce. This is why we waste a lot of sexual energy in trying to look like something to attract the other one. So if we want to change in a conscious way, we have to recognize that sexuality is not, in a consciousness, is not about the other, it's about how I use my own sexual energy to set myself free from appearances. So that's the sexual energy we have to work with. I spoke a little bit more because I took something from yesterday, from the topic from yesterday. The vibration for today is so. The code today is empathy and apathy. In the higher heart of the thymus gland is where the energy that connects us to the rest of the living being is centered. The vibrational waves that are irradiated from the pulses of this center has its bipolarity in the sines and cosines that represent the emotion of empathy and apathy. Empathy is the positive ability of feeling that the other feels, what the other feels, of placing oneself in someone else's shoes and being unconditionally one with the others. Meanwhile, apathy is the negative aspect that prevents me from feeling what the others feel, that doesn't let me put myself into others' place and set conditions in the connection to the environment. Nos sentamos cómodamente, cerramos los ojos y nos concentramos en la respiración. Sit comfortable, close your eyes, and concentrate on your breathings.
As I take a deep breath, I start to become aware of each part of my body, from my feet, going through my legs, spine, the back, hands and arms, neck and head. And I start to move every joint softly, caressing, becoming aware of the energy that is moving around the body. I yawn. I take a deep breath. And I now visualize myself beginning my day, laying down in bed, waking up, setting all the intention to start this new day. But this day is very important, it's unique, because today you will go out from your house to find that person that you have been for years looking for. And you have to get ready, prepare for that meeting. So you have to think very carefully, how are you gonna go out? Think about the clothes you're looking for, about the accessories. If you watch yourself in the mirror, get ready to go out. And take a moment to recognize that all these things that you are using are related to your appearances, the ones that control your life. Watch them without judging them. Become aware of them. Recognize which thoughts and ideas you decide to bring out today, which emotions you want to show. Recognize all of them. Become aware of how you dress your body, which emotions you want to feel today,
And which thoughts are you willing to share? Recognize all the appearances. And above all, think now about the energy that I am setting for this encounter. What is the energy that I intention to have, to express in this meeting? What am I looking for? This energy, this intention emerges throughout all my skin. I recognize that this energy that I feel in my skin is my sexual energy that sets the intention to present myself to the other one, to show that I am here, that prepare my body to be seen. Without thinking in genitals, I just honor this sexual energy in me, emerging through my skin. I recognize that all the appearances that I have lived were the tools to prepare myself for this meeting. And I see in front of me that the person I was looking for, it was myself. So I present with all these appearances to my own self. I am the sexual energy. I am the sexual energy. I am the sexual energy. I take a deep breath and I melt myself in a hug with my own self, and a kiss, and I smile. I think, I think, I think. I take a deep breath, and each one at its own time, come back here and now. Thank you everybody for being here, and see you tomorrow, as always, at the same time.